Uncle Sam FM here, and I have decided that my first videos that showed how to play MLS in Football Manager 2018 was a little lacking. And so, what I've decided to do, I'm going to produce three videos on how I guess what I would call my guide on playing MLS in FM. I'm going to look at first of all, the first video will cover the format. We'll look at the format of MLS. The second video, we're going to go into the squad breakdown. And then on the third video, we're going to look at how you acquire players in MLS. And so this first video is going to be on the format. How is MLS structured? How does it work? That's what we'll be looking at. First of all, in 2017, and that's the first season you'll play in Football Manager with MLS, what you see is there are 22 teams in MLS. And what I've got here is a graphic showing you the alignment. In the United States, obviously, our country is a little bigger than most of the countries in Europe. So what we try and do is we regionally align our most of our professional sports leagues, and there's a lot of reasons for that. It helps to kind of create rivalries and so on, but also it helps to cut down travel, things like that. And so in 2017, you'll see the MLS aligned as you see on the screen there. In the Western Conference, you've got 11 teams: Colorado FC Dallas, the Houston Dynamo, the LA Galaxy, Minnesota United, Portland Timbers, Real Salt Lake, San Jose, Seattle, Sporting Kansas City, and Vancouver Whitecaps. And then in the East, you'll have Atlanta United, Chicago Fire, Columbus Crew, DC United, Montreal Impact, the New England Revolution, New York City FC, New York Red Bulls, Orlando City, Philadelphia Union, and Toronto FC. And then MLS does something kind of interesting in FM, and it happens in real life. Starting with the 2018 season, MLS will move to 23 teams. And if you notice on your screen there, you have Los Angeles FC enters the Western Conference. And that's in Football Manager. SI has recreated that in Football Manager so that you can actually play as LAFC. You'll sit out the first season, and you can actually use that season, if you're playing as LAFC, to start assembling your squad, getting the team ready for the 2018 season. You can make trades. You can sign players, so on and so forth. And it mimics real life in that way. And so it can be a fun way to play MLS in Football Manager. I myself actually have created a custom file, which this is what my custom file looks like. You see, I've also added Inter Miami FC. That is the David Beckham. That's one of the proposed branding for the David Beckham franchise that will enter the league. In reality, they'll probably join the league in 2020, maybe 2019. That's not been set yet. It has been officially announced that they will be an expansion team in MLS. But in Football Manager with the editor, unfortunately, you cannot. The only time that you can expand MLS is that first season. So I've created a file that adds Enter Miami in the second season to make 24 teams. It makes things a little cleaner, and so yeah, that's what I've done. So that obviously you don't have to download that file. If you play the default settings, then the default setup, then it'll be the 23 team alignment. Looking at the regular season, MLS plays 34 matches. They play a 34 match season. You'll play every team in your conference at least twice. So if you're in the Eastern Conference, you'll play each Eastern Conference team twice. You'll play teams in the opposite conference at least one time. Now, the first season, that makes for, I believe, if you just play everybody twice in your conference and everybody once in the other conference, that makes for only 31 games. So what they do is 3 of the teams in the West, you'll actually play 3 times to make out that 34 match slate. The season lasts from early to mid-March till late October. Last weekend of October is when MLS ends. If you have the most points overall and that's not most points in your conference, but the most points in both leagues, you win what is called the MLS Supporters Shield. And that is an important it's an important trophy to win because, well, first of all, it means that you had the best regular season in the league. You won. You were the best team over the course of the 34 matches. It also gains you automatic entry into the CONCACAF Champions League, which means more general allocation money. It means more matches, and so on and so forth. And we'll discuss that in a future video. But that is kind of the goal during the regular season. The ultimate goal, is to win the MLS Supporter Shield. Another kind of secondary goal, it might be your primary goal, but you definitely want to qualify for the playoffs in MLS, which this is something that is unique to American sports. There are other leagues around the world that do have playoffs to determine their league champion, but MLS is definitely one of those that do. Obviously, leagues in Europe, South America, most of the rest of the world, they don't have playoffs to determine their champion, but MLS does. And so the way it works is the top two teams in each conference automatically advance to the conference semifinals. The third through sixth place finishers advance to what we call the wild card round. And those four teams will compete to try and earn the other two semifinal spots. So it ends up kind of looking like this. As you see, in each conference, the top two teams go right to the semifinals. And then places 3 through 6 qualify for the wild card. And so and one other thing to kind of note about MLS is that it's an American sport, and we've never really done the whole promotion relegation thing. They do it at the bottom levels, the very, very lower amateur levels. Some local leagues will do that, but in our professional leagues, we don't have promotion relegation and never really have. So that's not something that MLS clubs concern themselves with. Instead, it's all about the playoffs, and then to maybe a lesser extent, winning that supporter shield. So this is how the MLS playoffs kind of look. You've got the wild card round. You've got the fourth seed will play against the fifth seed. Third seed will play against the sixth seed. And then the winner of the 4-5 will play the number 1 seed, and the winner of the 3-6 plays the 2 seed. And then so on until you get to the MLS Cup final, where the winner wins the league. You are the MLS Cup champions if you win the MLS Cup final. So the wild card round is one leg that's played at the higher seed. So if you have either the third or the fourth seed, you're going to play a home match against either the fifth or the sixth seed, depending on what your seed was. And if you win, you advance to the semifinal, where you will play 2 legs. The conference semifinal and the conference final are both 2 legs, with the second leg being played at the higher seed, until you produce a conference champion, and the 2 conference champions will meet in the MLS Cup final. And this is one leg that will be played at the team that had the most points during the regular season. And that will determine the league champion. And that's how you win MLS Cup. Obviously, the winner of MLS Cup also advances automatically to the CONCACAF Champions League. And so, aside from winning the league, it's also important for that reason. And so that's the basic structure of MLS. That's how MLS works. Obviously, that is a lot different from most leagues around the world. You are not going to go to, England doesn't have, England has promotion playoffs, but even the winners of the championship, the winner of that league advances automatically to the league above it. So the playoffs, they don't determine champions. But in our sports, they tend to. Obviously, there's arguments for and against, but that's not what this video covers. We're just going to lay out the format here of MLS, how it works, and how it works in Football Manager. And so that's MLS. There is one other competition that MLS clubs will every season participate in, and that is the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. This is the national cup of the United States. It's it's like the FA Cup in England, obviously, similar to national cups at the Copa del Rey in Spain and so on. This is our equivalent of that. It's the oldest running competition in the United States in this sport. It is open to professional, semi-pro, and amateur clubs. There's qualifying processes that you won't see in Football Manager. For the most part, it kind of selects those amateur clubs randomly. The semi-pro clubs are also kind of picked randomly in Football Manager, whereas in real life, there is a process. But MLS teams, all MLS teams are entered into the U.S. Open Cup, and they join the tournament in the 4th round. And that's where they will officially enter the competition. The winner, the winner of the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup automatically goes to the CONCACAF Champions League. So it is an important competition, at least for that purpose, for that reason, in order to win to gain access to the CONCACAF Champions League outside of league play. And so the truth is that most MLS clubs in real life don't put high priority on the Open Cup until the later rounds. And usually in the 4th, 5th rounds, they will play reserve teams. They'll play their backups. And they'll do that because they're playing lower level teams. They're playing semi-pro teams. Or even if they're playing another MLS team, they're trying to get experience, get matches for some of these younger guys while they're keeping their first team fresh for league play. Because most MLS coaches know that their jobs rely more on how well the team does during the regular season in the league than they do in the Open Cup. But it is a fun little competition to play in, and it is in Football Manager as accurately as reasonably possible. So that's the format. In the next video, I'll be looking at the squad breakdown, which is different from, each league has their own unique squad rules, but MLS is particularly unique, and so that will be a little bit longer of a video, and we'll be looking at how the MLS clubs break their squads down.